Hello viewers, welcome back. Today we will be talking on how to solve linear programming problem by Simplex method. We have a question on the board. Solve the following maximization problem using Simplex method. This is our objective function and this is our solve. x1, x2, x3 is greater than or equal to 0. This is our objective function, this is our work constraint, and this is our what? Non-negativity of the constraint. So how can we solve this linear programming problem on Simplex method? Remember in our previous lesson, when I'm explaining the step to take in solving Simplex method, I said that when formulating Simplex method, first step is to what? The first step is to formulate the linear programming problem by converting it to what? We have to formulate it. After we formulate it, then we convert it to standard form. So if you see this question has been formulated, that is, it is a form of mathematical form. So what next is what? To convert it to standard form. If you are converted to standard form, you are going to what? Slash variable to it. If you add slash variable to it, the inequality sign will turn to equality. So in this case, we are going to have objective function maximize z this is 30x1 plus 48x2 plus 42x3. So I'm going to add my slash variable to it. How many decision variable that is there? We have three decision variable. It means ox1, os2, os3 are the slash variable I'm going to add to the objective function. Plus ox1 plus o 0x1, 0x2 plus 0x3. Since I've added my slash variable to this objective function, subject to the constraint, subject to my first constraint, this is my first constraint, this is my second constraint, this is my last constraint. Why this one is what? The non-negative of the constraint. So it means I'm going to add x1 to here, x2 to here, x3 to here. Then I'm going to have what? Continuation of what? x1, x2, x3 greater than or equal to 0. 3x1 plus 6x2 plus 4x3 is equal to 60. Remember, I'm going to add my slash variable to it, so it will be plus x1 is equal to 60. Since I've added my slash variable to it, and you know the function of slash variable. Slash variable is used what? To absorb the unused resources. Then my second constraint, 2x1 plus 0.5x2 plus x3 plus my slash variable 2 is equal to what? 10. Then my last constraint, 2x1 plus 4x2 plus x3 is equal to what? 20. Then my non-negativity of the constraint, x1, x2, x3. Then my slash variable of these three variables, 1, slash variable 1, slash variable 2, slash variable 3. Then it's greater than or equal to 0. That is, these our variables is greater than 0 or equal to 0. So I've converted to standard form. The next step is to what? To set the initial tableau. I'm going to set the initial tableau. Then, so for setting my initial tableau, here I will have solution variable. I can write my first table, first simplest table. That is initial table. I can write it as initial simplest table or first initial simplest table. That is my first table. Here will be my solution variable. I will denote it as SV. Here will be the coefficient of this value, the coefficient of the what? Of the objective function, that is the coefficient of the constraint. How many coefficient of the constraint do we have? We have what? The coefficient of constraint is 3, of x1 is 3, 6, 2. So it will be my variable. So 3x1 plus 6x2 plus 4x3 is this is my what constraint. So my decision variable is x1, x2, x3. I'm going to represent it as x1, x2, x3. with what? My slack variable. How many slack variable did I add to it? 3 slack variable. I have x1, s2, then what? s3. So here will be my here is going to be my slack variable, that is ox1 slack variable first. This slack variable that I added to the objective function, os2 slack variable 2, then os3 slack variable 3. Then I'm going to have my what? Cj and my what? My zj. Since I've done that, this is what? X1. So I will now be input the coefficient of the constraints. So my first constraint is what? Coefficient is 3, the coefficient of S2 is 6, the coefficient of what? S4 is 4. I'm going to write 3, 6, 4. If you look here, I had only slack variable 1 to it. It means X1. The coefficient of X1 is 1. So I don't have for slack variable 2. I don't have for slack variable 3. I'm going to write 0, 0. Here is going to be my solution quantity. Solution quantity. So I can write it as SQ, solution quantity. It means it's equal to what? 60. On the first constraint is equal to 60. On my second constraint, I have 3x1, 2x1. That is the coefficient of x1 is 2, the coefficient of s2 is 0.5, the coefficient of s3 is what? 1. So I'm going to have 2, 0.5, then 1. If you look here, I only have slack variable 2 here. It means the coefficient of my slack variable 2, s2 is what? 1. I don't have slack variable 1 that I added to second constraint. It will be 0. First constraint, I have 1, s2, and s3 I don't have. It's equal to what? 10. Is equal to 10. Then my last constraint is 2x1, 4s2, s3. The coefficient of this is 2. The coefficient of s2 is 4. The coefficient of s3 is what? 1. So I'm going to have 2, 4, 1. 2, 4, 1. Then my S3 is what? I only have for S3. I don't have for X1. I don't have for S2. I have 1. Is equal to what? 20. Is equal to 20. My CJ is the coefficient of the slack variable of the objective function. My CJ is the coefficient of the slack variable of the objective function. It's going to multiply the constraint. So the addition of the constraint of the first of the x1 will give my CJ of x1. Of the s2 will give me the what? The addition of s2 will give me the what? The CJ of my s2. So this is the objective function. So the coefficient of the constraint is what? The coefficient of the objective function of x1 is what? Slack variable 1 is 0, slack variable 2 is 0, slack variable 3 is 0. It means I'm going to multiply this one by 0, this one by 0, this one by 0. So I will have this. 0 times 3, 0, plus 2 times 0, 0, plus 0 times 2, 0. If I add it together, 0 plus 0 plus 0, I'm going to get 0. If I do this one again, I'm going to get 0 here. 0 multiplied by 6, 0 multiplied by 0.5 plus 0 multiplied by this, I'm going to get 0. It means this one will be 0, 0, 0, as well as this. A number multiplied by 0, I'm going to get 0. This is 0. So my zj is my objective function. For me to get my zj, the variable of my objective function is going to subtract this. I'm going to subtract it from. So it means my zj is what? My zj is what? 30x1, 48s2, 42s3. That is my objective function. The coefficient of x1 of my objective function, that is what? 30. So 30 minus cj. 30 minus 0, I'm going to get 30. 48 minus 0, I'm going to get 48. 42 minus 0, I'm going to get 42. So on my s1, s2, s3, I have 0, 0, 0. The coefficient of the slack variable is 0, 0, 0. I don't have it here. I'm going to put 0. That is not there. So since this is my initial simplex table. So since I've done my initial simplex table, I've created my table. What the next step is to what? To check for my optimality. How can I check for my optimality? This place is an optimal solution, that is the objective function. And the objective function is what? Maximization. So my target is what? Of using simplex method is what? Is to make this objective function to be negative, to be either negative or 0. So in this place, this is 30, 30, 30. These are negative. So I want to make all these value to be negative or 0. So what else is what? I have to what? To detect my what? My pivot column. How can I know my pivot column? It means that what? The highest value of the objective function is my pivot column. So this is our column. 48 is the highest. This is the objective function. 48 is the highest. So what I got here is what? 6, 0.5, 4. So solution variable will be divided by this. This one will be divided by this. This one by divided by that is solution quantity will divide the value, the element in solution quantity will divide by what? The pivot column. The element in the pivot column. So my solution quantity will now be solution quantity. Solution quantities. This is my 48. This 48 is my highest. This is my what? Pivot column. Pivot column. So solution quantity of this will be divided by this. 60 divided by 6. 10 will be divided by this. 10 divided by 0.5 as well as 20 divided by 4. 20 divided by 4. 60 divided by 6, you get 10. 10 divided by 0.5, you get 20. Then 20 divided by 4, you are going to get 5. If you see this is my what, I've gotten it. So for me to what? For me to indicate my pivot, it means that what? The value, the least element that I got is what? 5. What divided by 20 that I got 5? So my pivot will be, if I want to identify my pivot, it will be on my what? Pivot column. So the least element that gave me 5 that I divided is what? Is 4. So it means my pivot is what? 4. So I'm going to circle it. I've written that my pivot is what? 4. So pivot is 4. My pivot is 4. Since my pivot is 4, my next step is what? My next step is what? To divide the pivot row by the pivot element so that I can obtain my second table. So you can make screenshot of this. I'm able to clean this so that I can draw my second table. So since my pivot is 4, so my pivot fall in this row. So what are the elements in this row? I have 2, I have 4, I have 1, I have 0, I have 0, I have 1, I have 20. So I'm going to divide it by the pivot element, which is 4. Divided by 4 over 4 over 4 all over 4 all over 4 over 4 over 4. So 2 divided by 4, what are we going to have? 2 divided by 4, I'm going to get 0.5. 4 divided by 4, 1. 1 divided by 4, 0.25. 0 divided by 4, I'm going to get 0. This is 0. 1 divided by 4 is what? 0.25. 20 divided by 4, I'm going to have what? 5. It means my new pivot rule is what? My new pivot rule is 0.5, 1, 0.25, 0, 0, 0.25, and 5. I'm going to what? Then my second table, I will now put all these elements. Pivot elements will now replace this. So my second simplest table. So this is my second simplest table. I'm going to write solution variable, then x1, x2, x3, x1, x2, then x3. This is my solution quantity. That is solution quantity is SQ. So now I'm going to write my OX1. Since my CJ is 0, 0, 0, 0, so I can ignore it because it's not a value. So I can now write x1, x2, x3. x1, x2, x3, and then my what? My zj. My zj is my objective function, which is that is maximization. Now, since I've drawn my second simplest table, I have to write the elements back. So on my x1, I have 3, 6, I have 4, I have 0, I have 1, 1, 0, 0, 60. My second row, I have 3. My second row is I have 2, I have 0.5, I have 0, I have 101, 101, then I have what? 0 and 10. Then my third row, I have 2, 4. So my third row is what? My third row is what? My pivot element, my new pivot element, and which is this. So I have to replace this my pivot element when I divide it by 4 by this element. So remember, this is what? S3. So where did the pivot element fall on? It fall on what? It fall on what? S2 column. It means I'm going to replace S2 here by this. So my S2 here will be my this one variable will replace S2, S3. I'm not going to write S3 again. So here I'm going to have, so that it will indicate is my pivot row, my S2. That is my new pivot row, which is 0.5, which is 1, 0.25, which is 0, 0, 0.25, then and 5. So my objective function element, that is my last one is FG, is 30, 48, 42, 0, 0, 0, and 0. So this is my second simplest table. My target is what? Since I've gotten this, my next step is what? Since this is my new pivot row, it means all these elements that is in S2 row, that is S2 row, I write it so that I can remember that my pivot row is this. I have to make it to be 0. I have to make this one to be 0. I have to make this one 0. So that this one that we got here is our pivot element. It's not going to change. My target is to make this one 0, to make this one 0, to make this one 0. How can I make this one 0? It means I have to form another table. So from there, I can take x1, my x1 element, row. I can subtract it from my pivot. So this now will be my old row in what? In my third table. So watch. This is initial simplest table I drew before. So I have to clean the board. So this is my x1, my s2, then my s3 is my pivot row, which is s2. Then this is my zg, my objective function. So now here I can write my pivot row, pivot element 0.5 to here. That is my s2 is my pivot element 0.5, 1, 0, 0.25, 0, 0, then I have what? 0.25 and what? 5. So this is my pivot element, my pivot root element. So I have it. So I want to make this element here to be 0, except the pivot element that we got from here. You know, when we divide 4 by 4, we got 1. So this one is going to remain constant. So I want to make this one to be 0, this one to be 0, this one to be what? 0. So what I will do now? So this is our old rule. My old rule is 3, 6 for my x1. 3, 6, 4. 3, 6, 4. 1, 0, 0, 60. Then my pivot rule is pivot rule elements. Pivot rule element are 0.5, 1, 0.25, 0, 0, 0.25, and 5. So my target is what? My target is what? Except this private element, it will be 1. That is, our private element is here when we divide it by 4. This I want to make this one to be 0. I want to make this one to be 0. I want to make this one to be 0. So then, for me to make this one to be 0 here, I will subtract my old row. Old row will subtract, I will subtract pivot row from my old row. That is, I will old row minus pivot row. So if I 6 minus 1 is 5, but I want to make here, I want to make this one, I want to make my old row. If I subtract from here, I will get my new old row. So this is my old row here. I want to get my third simplest table. Simplest table. So it means if I multiply this element by 6, it's going to be what? If I multiply these elements that are here by 6, it means 6 times 6, 6. If I now subtract 6 minus 6, I'm going to get my 0 because I want to make this one to be what? 0. It means I'm going to multiply 6 by my pivot element. Then I will now subtract my x1 from my x2. That is, my x1 is what? My what? Old row minus what? My pivot element. So I'll get third simplest table. So from here, 0.5 times 6, this is 6. 0.5 times 6. Then I'm going to multiply 6 by this. Or 0. So I got 3. 3 minus 3, I got 0. So 6 here multiplied by this. Or 1 multiplied by 6, the same thing. 1 times 6 is what? 6. 6 minus 6 is 0. I'm going to 0.25 times 6. 0.25 times 6. That is what? 1.5. So it will now be 4 minus 1.5. That is what? 2.5. If I multiply 6 by this, I'm going to get what? 0. 1 minus 0, I'm going to get 1. If I multiply 6 by this, I'm going to get 0. 0 minus 0, I'm going to get 0. If I multiply 0.25 times 6, that is what? 1.5. 0 minus 1.5, I'm going to get minus 1.5. If I multiply 6 times 5, 30. So 60 minus 30, I'm going to get 20. 60 minus 30, I'm going to get 30. 60 minus 30, I'm going to get 30. So this is my new row for my x1. So I'm going to write it on my x1. That is, I have 0 on my x1. 0, this is 0, 0, 25, 0, 0, 2.5, 1, 0, 1, 0 minus 1.5. Then this is what? 30. This is my solution quantity. Since I've gotten that, I have to do this for S2. So my elements in S2 are 2. My elements in S2 is old row for S2 is 2, 0.5, 1, 0, 1, 0, 10. So my target is to what? My target is to what? To make 0.5 as 0. I've made it. If you look my x1 here, the element on S2 on x1 is 0. My target is to make it 0. I'll make it 0. So my target is to make this one. The element here also 0. So the element says what? 0.5. I want to make it 0. It means I'm going to multiply all these elements in pivot row. I'm going to multiply old row by what? I'm going to multiply my pivot row by 0.5. The reason why is that if I multiply 0.5 by 1, so that if I subtract, I'm going to get what? 0.5. So from here, my pivot row here is 0. My pivot row here is 0.5. Let me write it again. My old row is 2, 0.5, 1, 0, 1, 0, and 10. So my pivot row is 0.5, 1, 0.25, 0, 0, 0, 0.25, and 5. So I'm going to multiply my pivot row by 0.5 so that I will be able to get 0 from this. So 0.5 times 0.5, 0.5 times 0.5, that is 0.25. 2 minus 0.25, 2 minus 0.25, I'm going to get 1.75. So my new row for S2 will not be this element that I'm getting from here. 0.5 times 1 is what? 0.5. 0.5 minus 0.5, I'm going to get 0. That is my target. I've made this one to be 0. So the pivot, this number, this element is going to times all this value. 0.25 times this, 0.25 times 0.5, I got 0.125. So 1 minus 0.125, 1 minus 0.125, I got 0.875. 0.875. I'm going to multiply 0.5 times this 0. 0 minus 0, I'm going to get 0. 0.5 times this is what? 0. 1 minus 0, I'm going to get 1. 0.25 times what? 0.25 times 0.5. That is 0.125. 0 minus 0.125, I'm going to get what? 0 minus 0.125 minus 0.125. Then if I multiply my 5 times 0.5, I'm going to get what? 2.5. 10 minus 2.5, this is what? 7.5. So my new rule for S2 is 1.75. I'm going to write it here. 1.75, 0, 0.875, 0, 1, minus 0.125. Then my last one is 0.5. It means I've made this one to be 0, I've made this one to be 0. My objective function is zj. So I want to make this element under my objective function to be 0. If I subtract the objective function, I subtract it from what? I subtract it from what? My pivot row. So it means here is what? Here is what? Is 48. So I want to subtract, I want to zj minus s2. So if I subtract it, I want to make this one to be what? I want to make this one to be 48. It means I'm going to multiply my s2 by 48. That's my pivot element. So my old row for zj is 30, 48, 42, 0, 0, 0, 0. My pivot role is my S2, 0.5, 1, 0.25, 0, 0, 0.25, and 5. So I'm going to multiply my pivot row by 48 so that I will be able to get 0 here if I subtract old row from pivot row. So 40, 0, this 0.5, this will multiply this. 0.5 times 48, that is 24. 30 minus 24, I'm going to get 6. 48 times 1 times 48 is 48. 48 minus 48, I'm going to get 0. 0.25 times 48, I'm going to get what? 12. 42 minus 12, that is what? 30. 0 times 48 is 0. 0 minus 0 is 0. 0 times 48 is 0. 0 minus 0 is 0. 0.25 times 48, that is 12. 0 minus 12 is what? Minus 12. Then 48 times 5. 5 times 48, that's what? 240. 0 minus 240. I'm going to get minus 240. So this one might be my new objective function element. My new objective function element. My new zj rule. So I'm going to write it here. 6, 0, 30, 0, 0, minus what? Minus 12, minus 240. Since I've gotten my third simplest table, so my target is what? This element in objective function to be 0 or negative. That's my optimal solution is reached. And if you look this element in zj rule, it is some elements are negative, some elements are what? Are 0. But this is 6, this is 30. It means this one have not turned to what? It must to be what? This must turn to negative. This is negative, and my target is to make all the elements here to be either negative or positive. So I will start again to draw my another table, which is going to be my fourth simplest table. It means what I'm going to do is what? I will check for my optimality here. I will check for my optimality, that is, I will take the highest element in this row, then I will now check the pivot column, then I will now decide what to identify new pivot elements. That is another new pivot element. So I will now start again to divide it by what? The pivot element of the row. So let me draw my fourth simplest table. So before I draw my first table, let me solve my solution quantity of this. This is what? 30. This is the pivot column, the highest of zj. The highest element here is 30. This is here. So I'm going to divide 30 divided by this one divided by this one divided by this. So I have 30 here. 30 divided by 2.5. 7.5 divided by 0.825. 7.5 divided by 0.875. Then what? 5 divided by 0.25. If I divide 30 divided by 2.5, what am I going to get? I'm going to get 12. I got 12. If I divide 7.5 divided by 0.875, I'm going to get 8.57. 8.57. If I now divide 5 divided by 0.25, I got what? I got 20. Remember, for me to identify my pivot elements, the least element that is here will determine my pivot element. So what is the least element that is there is what? 12. My least element is what? 12. So what did I divide by 30 that gave me 12? Is what? 2.5. So my 2.5 will be my what? New pivot element. So here I'm going to draw my fourth simplest table. Fourth simplest table. Fourth simplest table. So this is my solution variable. This is my x1, x2, x3, x1, x2, x3, and my what? Solution quantity. So this is my x1. So this is my x2, and this is my what? My pivot element I got before, s2, and what? zg. So if you look at this, so my element in next one is what? 0, 0, 2.5, 1, 0, minus 1.5, and what? 30. So if you look at this, 1.75, 0, 0.875, I have 0, 1, minus 0.125, and what? 7.5. Then my s2 is 0.5, 1, 0.25, then 0, 0, 0.25, and what? And 5. Then my zj elements are 6, 0, 30, 0, 0, 0, 30, 0, 0, minus 1.2, then last is what? Minus 240. Now from here now, remember that when I got my pivot element, then I have to change it to S2. So what is my pivot element here is what? Is what my least element is here is what? 12. What gave me 12 in pivot column? That is what? 2.5. It means this is one that gave me 12. When I divide 30 by this, I got 12. So it means I'm going to what? Ring it. It means this is my own pivot, my second pivot element. So it means what gave me 2.5 is what? S3. So this one will not be x1 again. It's going to replace this S3. Since I've gotten it, so I have to draw what? I have to what? My next target is what? To divide the element in this pivot row by the pivot element so that I can obtain a new table for what? Fifth table. So my pivot is my pivot row here. My pivot element. Pivot row element are 0, 0, 2.5, 1, 0, minus 1.5, and 30. I'm going to divide it by the pivot element, which is what? 2.5. So this is 2.5, 2.5, 2.5, 2.5, 2.5, 2.5, then 2.5. 0 divided by 2.5 is 0. 0 divided by 2.5 is 0. 2.5 divided by 2.5, 1. 1 divided by 2.5, 0.4. 0 divided by 2.5 is what? 0. Minus 1.5 minus 1.5 divided by 2.5. I got minus 0.6. Then 30 divided by 2.5. 2.5. That is what? 12. It means I have to draw my fifth table so that my elements here will now be 0, 0, 1, 0.4, 0, minus 0.6, and 12. So my fifth simplest tableau. My solution variable here, my x1, my x2, my x3, my x1, my x2, my x3, and my solution quantity. So I'm going to have what here? S3, then S2, S2, and what? ZG, my S2. Now, my S3 is what? My new pivot, my what? Another new what? Pivot what? Pivot row. So it means my new pivot row element is now what? When I divide it by what? The pivot element, I got what? 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0.4, 0, minus 0.6, and what? And 12. So my S2 is what? 1.75, 0, 0.875, 0.1, minus 0.125, and what? 7.5. My S2 is what? 0.5, 1, 0.25, 0, 0, 0.25, and what? And 5. My ZJ is 6, 0, 3, 0, then 0, 0, minus 1.2, then minus 240. So this, I've gotten one, my S3. When I divide it by the pivot elements of this pivot row, I got what? I got this. So my target is what? To make this one to be 0, 0, and 0. So since I've gotten one here, that's what my another new pivot element. So it's not going to change. It will remain constant. So I'll have to draw my sixth simplest tableau so that I can complete the table of this 50. My sixth simplest tableau. My solution variable, my x1, my x2, my x3, x1, x2, x3, and what? Solution quantity. So this is what? My x3, my x2, then my x2, then my what? ZG. Now, this is my what? My pivot row. My pivot row element. So I'm going to write it. That I got one. That is 0, 0, 1, 0.4, 0, 0.6, and what? Minus 0.6 and what? 12. So my S2, I want to get my S2, my X2, and ZG. It means what? My target is what? To make this one to be 0, 0, and 0. It means I will subtract each element of the value, the variable, from what? From the pivot row. So it means my S2 is what? What my S2 is there? My S2 is what? My S2 here is what? 1.75. That is my old row. My old row is old row. 1.75, 0, 0.875, 0, 1, minus 0.25, then 7.5. So my pivot column, my pivot row is what? Here is 0, 0, 1, 0.4, then 0 minus 0.6 and 12. I want to make this, I've got one from here, and this is my pivot element. So it means I want to make my 0.875 to be what? To be 0. I want to make this one to be 0. It means I'm going to multiply pivot row by this element, so that if I multiply it by this element, when I subtract 0.875 from this element here to be 0, times 0.875. So if I multiply 0.875 multiplied by this, I'm going to get 0. So 1.75 minus 0, I'm going to get 1.75. If I multiply this 0 times 0.875, I'm going to get 0. 0 minus 0, I'm going to get 0. If I multiply 1 times 0.875, I'm going to get 0.875. 0.875 minus 0.875, I'm going to get what? I'm going to get 0. So 0.4 times 0.875, I got what? 0.35. So 0 minus 0.35, I'm going to get minus 0.35. If I multiply 0 multiplied by this number, it will be 0. 1 minus 0. So 1 minus that value is what? 1. 1 minus 0 is 1. Minus 0.6. Minus 0.6 times 0.875. I got minus 0.25. Minus 0.6 times 0.875. I got minus 0.525. So I'm going to subtract minus 0.25 from that minus. So minus 0.125 minus 0.525. I got what? 0.4. This will be 0.4. Then if I multiply 12 multiplied by 0.875, I got what? 10.5. 7.5 minus 10.5. What do I got? I got what? Minus 3. So this is the element for what? Our S2. 1.75, 0, 0. Then this is what? Minus 0.35, 1, 0.4, and minus 3. So I'll have to do it for S2 also. What's my element in S2? Element in S2. My element in S2. So I don't need to clean the pivot tool because I'm using each element to subtract from the pivot tool. So my element in S2 is 0.5. Then is what? 1, 0.25. This is 0. This is 0. Then this is 0.25 and what? And 5. So it means I want to make, my target is what? To make elements in S2 here, my old root to be 0. I want to make this one to be 0. So 0.25, I want to make 0.25 to be 0. What am I going to do? I want to make it to be 0. If you look at this value, so I want to make this one to be 0. It means I'm going to multiply this pivot row by 0.25. So I will be able to subtract old row minus pivot row. So 0.25 times this, I'm going to get 0. 0.25 times this number, I'm going to get 0. So if I say 0.5, I'm going to get 0.5. 0 times 0.25, I'm going to get what? 0. I'm going to get 0. 1 minus that 0 is 1. 1 times 0.25, 0.25. 0.25 minus 0.25 is what? Is 0. 0.4 times 0.25, 0.4 times 0.25. I got 0.1. 0 minus 0.1 minus 0.1. 0.25 times this, I'm going to get 0. 0 minus 0 is 0. Minus 0.6 minus 0.6 times 0.25. I got what? Minus 0.15. 0.25 minus 0.15. I got 0.4. Then I'm going to 12 times 0.25. 12 times 0.25. I got 3. So 5 minus 3, I got 2. So it means my elements in my S2 will be 0.5, 1, 0, minus 0.1, 0, 0.4, and 2. So this is my element. I've made this one to be 0. I've made this one to be 0. So my ZJ, I'm going to do the same process. 6, 0, 30. So I write the element out. Six, 0, 30, 0, 0, minus 1.2, then minus 240. So my pivot rule is what? This is my pivot rule. My pivot rule already before is what? S3. There is 0, 0. New old rule, pivot rule. So I have 0, 0, 1, 0.4, 0, 0.6. This is minus 0.6. Then I have 12. So what am I going to do here? I want to make this one to be 30. How can I make this one? I want to make this one to be 0. If I old row minus pivot row to be 0. If I add plus 29, this one will be 0. I can add this plus 29. If I add plus 29, it will now be 29 plus 1. It will be 30. If I multiply by 30, it's going to be what? 0. Either if I add this element by plus 29, it means all my elements will be what? This one will be 30. If I say 30 minus 30, I'm going to get 6. If I say multiply throughout by 30, I'm going to get the same thing. So let's 29. What am I going to get? Plus 29 plus this. I'm going to get 6 minus 0 plus 29 is what? 0 plus 29 is what? 29. 6 minus 29. I'm going to get minus 23. 0 plus 29 is what? 29. 0 minus 29. I'm going to get minus 29. 1 plus 29 is 30. 30 minus 30. I'm going to get 0. 0.4. 0.4 plus 29. That's what? 29.4. 0 minus 29.4 minus 29.4. If I add 0 plus 29, I'm going to get 29. 0 minus 29 minus 29. So if I add minus 0.6 plus 29, I got 28.4. Minus 1.2 minus 28.4. I got what? Minus 29.6. Then 12 plus 29. 12 plus 29 is what? 41. Minus 240 minus 41. I got what? Minus 281. It means this is my new element for my ZG. Minus 23, minus 29, 0, minus 29.4. Then is what? Minus 29, minus 29.6. Then minus what? Minus 281. It means if you look about this element, if you look about this element in what? In the ZG, it means our optimal solution is what? Is achieved, because we are able to get our element here is either 0 or negative. So this is negative, this is negative, this is 0, this is negative, 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 and this is what? Negative. It means our optimal solution is achieved. Since we have considered our simplest step, it means we have what? We have formulated the what? Linear programming problem by simple. My optimal solution is achieved. I have to what? Write all the value outside. That is my S3. My S3 can be my product or item. It can be my product or item. That is my S3 is what? Is 12. My S3 here is also my product. Is what? My S3 is my product is what? 3. My S3 is what? 2. Is also product. Is what? Is 2. Then I have my solution. I have what? My S3 here. What my S3 is what? Slack variable. That is the unused or unutilized resource. So unused resource. My unused resource is what? My what? Slack variable 2. S2 is what? My S2 is what? 3. Because it cannot be what? Negative. If it is negative, it should be positive, because my constraint is either my constraint is greater than or equal to. So my unused resources is S3. So on my ZJ, I have my what? I have my slack variable here, which is what? Minus 29.4 minus 29 minus 29, then my what? 29.6. Since I've gotten my S2 already, my X1 and my S2 will be what? My X1 is 29.4. Then my S3 is what? 29.6. Then my maximized value, that is my ZJ, we are maximizing. You know that our ZJ is what? We maximize. So my maximize is what? My profit value is what? 281. So my maximization is what? Which is ZJ is what? Maximization is 281. So these are the value of the simplest of got from the last simplest table. So this is the solution for solving linear programming problem by simplest method. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. When I upload new video, you'll be notified. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.